You might not know it, but every time you have eggs in the morning for breakfast, eat some chicken nuggets for lunch, or spread margarine on your toast, you're eating flowers. Now how could that be? Well, marigolds and the petals from marigolds are used as a colorant in those food items. And OSU researchers are banding together to find out how to grow marigolds on a large scale so they can be mechanically processed and used in the food processing industry. And when you visit the Oklahoma Gardening Studio Gardens, a lot of times you see research projects around you, and this is one that's just south of our studio gardens. And it looks beautiful right now, but it is for serious food processing use and not for cut flower use in the industry. And OSU's Horticulture Department, Department of Biosystems and Ag Engineering, and Ag Economics are working together to grow marigolds as efficiently as possible, machine harvest them, then figure out how to add them as a feed additive in the poultry industry. When broilers eat food that has marigold petals in it, their skin turns a little yellower and is more appealing in the finished product. When laying hens eat food with marigold petals, their yolks are a little bit yellower. And last of all, the marigold petals are a natural source of yellow-orange pigment that's added to margarines, and the higher quality margarines do have a deeper yellow color, and very often this does come from marigold petals, which are now produced overseas. What OSU wants to do is ensure local production here in Oklahoma because we have a perfect climate for them. And a field just like this one can be harvested 3 or maybe 4 times during the season and end up with multiple harvests of the flowers to be used in the processing industry. And what researchers think this will work out well for is for peanut growers, because they already have the sandy fields where the marigolds will grow well. They're in a part of Oklahoma that has a long season. They have irrigation to water them, and they have the peanut wagons for drying the flowers down. So the next time you sit down to a meal, you might be eating flowers and not realize it, and it's the results of OSU research. Now let's take a look at another project that I think you'll find interesting. Another beautiful spot of color that you'll see out at the studio gardens is the lantana trial. Dr. Mike Snelly in the Horticulture Department is studying different varieties of lantana to see which ones perform best in Oklahoma. Now, as we've mentioned before on Oklahoma Gardening, lantana is a wonderful summer spot of color in your garden. It's very heat tolerant, drought tolerant, loves full sun. In fact, some varieties of lantana will overwinter on the south-facing side of your house, although studies tell us that lantana is hardy to zone 8. There are little microclimates around your home that are maybe against a brick wall or near a sidewalk that will stay warm enough in the summer for lantana to overwinter. Now, what the trial is looking at here is how floriferous, or how many flowers the different varieties have. It looks at their branching habit. That's one thing in the nursery industry that's very important, is to know and understand the form of the plant and how it grows. Is it upright? Is it branching a great deal or very little? Is it a weeping habit that would lend itself to hanging baskets? If you're going to grow lantana, again, choose a place with good drainage and full sun, and if you think it's not protected enough for the winter, you can start to take cuttings this time of year. Now, we have many types here, and if it were me, I'd be tempted to take cuttings from every one of them, but of course we wouldn't do that on a research project. But you can take softwood cuttings right now using just pruning shears and clipping about a 4-inch length of stem. Keep those in a moist environment. You can take semi-hardwood cuttings from the woodier portions of the stem, and they'll root in a few months. Or the more trailing varieties, such as the purple lantana, can be layered in the soil. It's a very simple process where you take the stem, lay it out along the soil, cover the middle portion with a little bit of soil, just mound it up over it, and then leave part of the stem on the end sticking out. And by fall, you'll have a nice rooted cutting. Last of all, you could just dig up your lantana when the weather gets colder and bring it on inside. And right over here, Steve Owens, our studio grounds manager, has loaned us his pet lantana for the summer, and I want to show you how he's grown it. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Sue.
This is looking really gorgeous. Now, I know that you were inspired to grow this by your former employment. Tell us about that.
Well, I used to work for the city of Tulsa, the Parks Department, the Horticulture Division, and Russell Studebaker has grown some standard lantanas, and they are really huge plants. They're like 20-something years old, and they're really tall. They make great lollipop patio trees.
Right.
And I decided to do this with this one. This is a variety called New Gold, And this plant is about 1.5 years old.
Now that's going to be amazing to people, because they'll look at this and probably think, oh, that must have been in training for 5 or 6 years, but just 1.5 years.
Yeah, it does look like that. And since it is a woody plant, you know, we thought we would train it like this. And
Okay.
there's no way this ball of foliage and flowers will support itself. If we took these little ties off of here, it would fall over. So what I've done, I've stuck a crepe myrtle limb in the pot right beside it, and just it's got some branching limbs at the top, and it's just tied to this stake, and that supports it
And then
really fine.
So you keep it pruned through the summer to maintain the shape?
Yeah,
a
that's
little bit?
right.
Okay. Now you started with a cutting 1.5 years ago, and you had it in the pot, and you just chose a long branch and tied to this and cut all the others off. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
And we want to emphasize that Steve kept this in a greenhouse through the winter, and you may have a sunny porch or a greenhouse if you're lucky enough to have one, and you could keep it living through the winter, and then it'll get quite a bit of growth on it. This is something you couldn't leave out through the season. But now I noticed, Steve, on the maintenance on this, there's really not too much, it looks like, other than trimming off these little stems down here that want to grow up.
That's right. It'll sucker along the stem a little bit, so just keep those pinched off so all the growth is concentrated up here in the canopy.
Great, it looks gorgeous. Well, we want to emphasize that lantana is a plant that we want you to come to know and appreciate. It's very pest-free. You never see spider mites on it or anything
No.
like that. It does very well, and it just has such beautiful, clear colors that I hope you'll try it. Right now, I'm going to head over to our studio gardens and show you how lantana can be used within the landscape, among other flowers.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.